At Dover, he took the lead from Chase Briscoe following the restart of the second overtime. He pulled away to his fourth win of the season by just over 0.3 of a second. It was the 58th win of Hamlin's career. Alex Bowman, Kyle Larson, and Ty Gibbs rounded out the top five. Most NFL training camps getting underway this week. The Chiefs have locked up defensive end George Karlaftis with a 4-year contract extension. The Seahawks have released tight end Noah Fant after 3 seasons. Save big when you bundle auto and home, renters, or condo with Progressive. That's the SportsGrid Sports Flash. I'm Chuck Sanders.
Now is the perfect time to start on your next success. Apply now and save with no application fee. Classes start August 13th. An accredited state university, University of Maryland Global Campus, offers online and hybrid courses. Plus, you can earn up to 90 credits toward a bachelor's for prior learning and work experience, or transfer up to 12 credits towards a master's. Learn more at umgc.edu. Certified to operate in Virginia by Chevy.
Progressive knows when you own a boat or RV, it's like you're automatically on vacation, even if you're actually a marriage counselor in the middle of couples therapy. But in your mind, you're camping in Acadia, puttering around Frenchman Bay. Your boat and RV are both protected. You're lobster drenched in butter and... Uh-oh, did your clients just notice you weren't listening? Quick, do the thing where you just repeat back exactly what they said, but as a question. They bought it. Now back to Maine, earning an automatic discount bundling your boat or RV with your home or auto. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and other insurers. Not available in all states or situations.
If you want to be an alpha,
you've got to get the winning edge.
It's kind of a necessary ingredient if you want to lead the pack. So mark your territory
with the winning edge.
You're in the big leagues. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network. You're listening to Football Full Circle with Joe Lisi and Ben Stevens.
All right, here as a new week begins on Football Full Circle. That is FFC, all a part of the SportsGrid Radio Network and Sirius XM Channel 159. That is the mastermind of the pigskin, Joe Lisi. I am Ben Stevens. Plenty to break down up until 1 p.m. Eastern Time today, Joe, as more and more teams, more and more rookies are starting to show up to training camp. And as of end of day tomorrow on a Tuesday, 30 of our 32 NFL clubs will have reported to training camp. By the end of Wednesday, all 32 NFL teams around the league will have showed up for training camp. And as we start today, Joe, sometimes it's not about who reports to training camp, but who is not there. Plenty NFL news and notes on this Monday here on Football Full Circle before we get you set with some college football news as well.
Yeah, I mean, college football, the latest is BYU, ex-BYU quarterback Jake Retzloff transfers now potentially to Tulane. You mentioned the training camp starting to open. We have the game in just about a week and a half between Detroit and LA. That's a pretty good indication about where those teams are in terms of the second and third teamers. And we get football in July. That's what it's all about. You know, for the NFL, training camps, the storylines, teams jockeying for position and potentially looking for a Super Bowl championship to challenge the likes of the Philadelphia Eagles. And on the flip side, the Kansas City Chiefs, still potentially the two best teams in their respective conferences. And we'll see how it plays out in just about 5 months from now.
Yeah, a lot of college football news to break down, a lot of NFL news to get started with as well. And, Joe, as we said, 30 of 32 teams will report to training camp by the end of tomorrow. The two that will not, but will join everybody on Wednesday in the fold, the Atlanta Falcons and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Let's start with some news, of course, out of Cincinnati. The Bengals sent their rookies to training camp on Saturday. The veterans show up tomorrow. All eyes will be on Trey Hendrickson, the talented edge rusher, the NFL sack leader the last 2 years and last season individually with 17. Will he be there when the Bengals show up? More than likely not, as he is still hoping for a new contract. How about the rookie edge rusher, the 17th overall pick out of Texas A&M, Shamar Stewart? Did he show up on Saturday? No. He did not, as he remains the only first-round rookie yet to sign his rookie contract. And Joe, longtime executive in Cincinnati, Duke Tobin, that has worked closely with the Brown family and under owner Mike Brown, who is the executive, the front office guy. Basically, he is the de facto GM for this Bengals franchise, saying, quote, in terms of Shamar Stewart, quote, he needs to be here. I would encourage him to be here. He's listening to the advice he's paying for. I don't understand the advice. We're treating him fairly. End quote. That doesn't necessarily, Joe, seem to be two sides that are close to getting a deal done.
No, and again, we talk about these dominant college players and moving on to the NFL. It's one thing to have a great college career. It's another thing to be an all-pro or lead the league in sacks like Trey Hendrickson, right? I mean, Shamar Stewart has yet to play an NFL down, and he's holding out and really holding the team hostage at this point. And it comes down to the bottom line. Do you want to play football or don't you? Do you want to play in the league, and do you want to make an impact for your respective team, or do you want to sit out and just create a narrative and a storyline that just makes you a negative, right? It really comes down to that factor. At some point, you have to push everything aside and say, you know what? I'm going to play football for the Cincinnati Bengals. They took a shot on me. I'm going to take a shot, and I want to help this team win an AFC championship, or just check out and move on, because the longer that this plays out, it's only detrimental to the team and those veterans that are on there looking for a championship.
Sure, but also in the context of what Shamar Stewart is dealing with, he is standing up for what he believes in his contract and his representation. In the Bengals being adding in a new default clause that they did not to their previous two first-round selections. And that default clause, if Shamar Stewart were to get in any on or off the field trouble, would cause Shamar Stewart to lose all of the guaranteed money that is a part of a rookie first-round deal that 31 of 32 NFL teams and their draft selections have been able to iron out. This is not about money, per se. They are not negotiating $1 million here or there. This is not about the length of a contract. Again, since 2013, when the rookie wage scale went into place, you know exactly how much you are making over the entire duration of your 4-year deal with a 5th-year team option. You know that it is fully guaranteed being a first-round pick as well. It is the default clause that the Bengals decided to add in this year that would protect them through loopholes with a certain sense, Joe, I would say, of non-belief in the guy they decided to draft in the first round. Is it great for either side from a football perspective? No. But does it make a ton of sense from a negotiation perspective for the Bengals to add something, try to slipping it into the contract they did not with their previous 2 first-round picks? I would not say so. Does it ingratiate the idea you are welcoming in this guy that you have trusted with a first-round asset and all the value he can bring to your franchise? Absolutely not. And if it was any other team, maybe you would ask, all right, how do these things often play out? But when it is the Bengals franchise, which we have known throughout the entire duration under the Brown family, basically in the entire tenure of Duke Tobin's time, but certainly at the forefront here as of late, the contract issues they had with T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, now Trey Hendrickson, Jermaine Pratt, and currently the first-round rookie Shamar Stewart, you don't often look at all those things, 5 different players, and say, well, the common factor here is what? The common denominator is the Bengals front office.
Right. But again, we're still talking about an unproven commodity and a guy that can take out.
Well, proven enough, Joe. They drafted him in the first round.
Okay, but
if they didn't want Shamar Stewart, don't draft him.
Policy. But all right, but at the end of the day, these are the factors. You want to sign on the dotted line, great. If you don't move on, take out your own insurance policy, like we've seen multiple first-round selections do in terms of that protection, and move on. Either you want to play football or you don't. It's the bottom line. It's a risk type of game. And at the end of the day, I understand they didn't do it with the first 2 draft picks over the past couple of seasons, but the team can do that. I mean, they're the team making the parameters. So either you want to play or you don't want to play. If you don't want to play, move on and let somebody else draft you, be a free agent, and see if they offer you the same type of deal. That's what it comes down to. It's going to come down to a situation. Is he fully bought in to playing in the NFL? It can't just be about the money. It's got to be being able to play at an elite level. He hasn't shown that right now. I don't care what he did in Texas A&M. And we're talking about Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and T. Higgins that played in the Super Bowl already. What has Shamar Stewart played? He hasn't even played in a national championship game.
Are the Bengals bought in to being a true Super Bowl contender? My answer to that question would be no. Because when you're awful defensively and you're not willing to improve, I think your argument, Joe, would stand the test of time, perhaps, or be a better one if the Bengals did not have previous issues in their contractual negotiations, or even currently, if they had paid Trey Hendrickson, a guy that played in that Super Bowl with them, that had played in the AFC Championship game with them, that then went out there and said, all right, you want me to prove it? I will, in terms of production, leading the NFL in sacks a year ago. But even that guy that has done anything that you could say for Shamar Stewart, hey, you need to be a proven commodity, Trey Hendrickson has, and the Bengals are still saying, we're good.
But that's still up to the team, though, Ben. I mean,
sure, then it's up to the player to make the decision necessary for them. But, Joe, if the team can do that, so can the player. But it seems as though you're taking the team's side.
Why are we giving the benefit of the doubt to the player? I'd rather give the benefit of the doubt to the team. You have to prove yourself in the NFL. If you haven't proven
and these guys
yourself,
have, and yet you still give the benefit of the doubt to the team.
But they signed 3 of the 4. They signed 3 of the 4, didn't they?
Except the guy maybe most necessary to do something they could not do last year, which was make the playoffs, despite the best offense in the NFL. So that's why the team loses the benefit of the doubt to me. They're not a serious business model. More on Football Full Circle next.
4 out of 5 scientists agree it's smarter to be on SportsGrid. And we're pretty sure that one scientist is still a virgin.
He just gives that vibe.
This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
With your news flash, I'm Trey Westerberg. This update brought to you by Linzess. Just 3 people remain missing, down from nearly 100 at last count since the Texas Hill Country was pounded by massive flooding on July 4th. Officials praise rescuers for the sharp reduction in the number of people on the missing list. Just days after the catastrophic flooding, more than 160 people were said to be unaccounted for in Kerr County alone. The death toll in Kerr County, 107, held steady for much of last week, even as the intensive search continued. The IT company CEO, captured in a widely circulated video showing him embracing an employee at a Coldplay concert, has resigned. Andy Byron resigned from his job as CEO of Cincinnati-based Astronomer Incorporated. The move came a day after the company said that Byron had been placed on leave and the board of directors had launched a formal investigation into the Jumbotron incident, which went viral. I'm Trey Westerberg with your news flash.
Lowe's knows big savings make a big difference, especially when you're shopping for appliances. Hurry in to get up to 30% off select major appliances. Plus, My Lowe's Rewards members get free delivery, free haul away, free installation and parts on purchases of $2,500 or more. Lowe's, we help, you save. Valid through 7/30. Selection varies by location. While supplies last. Price, delivery time, and vehicle availability may vary based on order size and location. Exclusions apply. See Lowes.com/delivery for more details.
Switching to Progressive is a game-winning call. And that reminds us of other game-winning calls in the history of sports.
It was a doubleheader in August and really hot inside the concession stand. So instead of waiting for people to come to me, I figured I'd walk around yelling, "Hot dogs here!" And that's how I became the first hot dog vendor in sports.
Okay, not really a game-winning call, but it was a good call. You can make one too. Switch to Progressive and you could save hundreds. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, not available in all states.
There's something you should know and always remember.
SportsGrid does not increase luck.
We're your unfair advantage for the latest sports gaming information. If you're looking for luck,
go find a horseshoe.
This is the SportsGrid Radio Network. You're listening to Football Full Circle with Joe Lisi and Ben Stevens.
Live right here on Football Full Circle, it is FFC. Look at that face. Normally there's a smile on that face.
It is
not
a
right
smile.
now with our conversation around Shamar Stewart and Mr. Pro-Business, Pro-Owner Joe Lisi, never fighting for the little guy and back in the Bengals front office. You would think this guy was born in Cincinnati and not Brooklyn and might be besties with Mike Brown the way he discusses this situation. But, Joe, I guess we can continue that conversation perhaps tomorrow when Trey Hendrickson, a very proven commodity at the highest of all high levels in the NFL, doesn't show up, and I look forward to your argument there. Let's talk about another edge rusher who did get paid because his franchise works well and his franchise has had success. That's the Kansas City Chiefs. George Karlaftis, the first-round pick for KC back in 2022, out of Purdue at the end of his third NFL season, entering year number 4, receives a contract extension. His second deal with the Chiefs, a 4-year, $93 million deal. That's about $23.25 million per season in AAV. Karlaftis paid for his production as a multiple times Super Bowl champion, 24.5 sacks the last 3 years for Karlaftis. He gets a payday and a second contract in the NFL, Joe, with the Chiefs.
Yeah, I mean, former Purdue Boilermaker that has stepped up and been a mainstay with Chris Jones for that defense, and Spagnuolo utilizes him to the best of his ability. You talked about 24.5 total sacks, 8 a year average out. That really is an important factor if Kansas City's going to challenge, not just in terms of the AFC West, but a championship and a Super Bowl contention. He's a younger player. He's been potentially injury-free throughout his career, and that's important moving forward. He's very good in run support as well. So we talk about Kansas City and elevating this team on the offensive side of the ball with those young wide receivers, Rashee Rice, Xavier Worthy, and Marquise Brown. Now the defense gets a long-term play with one of the younger defensive ends in the AFC, and that's important for them to have success this season in 2025.
Yeah, Joe, it really is, and it's a good point. George Karlaftis might not be the flashiest name that you think of when you believe in edge rushers, but what he has done from a production standpoint, 24.5 sacks in his first 3 years, but at least 7 TFLs, tackles for loss, in all 3 of his seasons, and he's played in at least 16 games. He is a really good piece for this KC defensive front, so he gets paid this week. Last week, it was Trey Smith. The Chiefs show up to training camp today in St. Joseph, Missouri on this Monday. KC is in camp, both the rookies and the veterans reporting for camp today. Joe, the Chiefs, one of a few teams still that goes to like a different site than just the practice facility. Of course, the Cowboys show up to Oxnard today, their Southern California training home. The Chiefs go to Missouri Western State in St. Joseph, Missouri, and the Pittsburgh Steelers coming up on Wednesday will report to Latrobe. A lot of other places kind of right now, just the practice facility. There's something unique about living with the boys in the dorm room, all focused in on training camp, getting ready for a new football season. KC does that. George Karlaftis gets paid. Lisa Guy, something we agree on. Maybe we don't agree on the Bengals and Shamar Stewart. Something we have agreed on for a very long time. Will Levis was not an NFL caliber quarterback. Will Levis, certainly in the 2023 draft cycle, should have never been brought up as a top 5 or top 10 pick, probably not even a first rounder. He was the second pick of round number 2 by the Titans. He made multiple starts both in his rookie year in 2023 and was the week 1 starter for Tennessee last year and was atrocious. He was placed on the bench. He dealt with a nagging shoulder injury. Well, Joe, we got word today that Will Levis is electing to undergo season-ending shoulder surgery already as the Titans report to training camp tomorrow. Will Levis is going to miss the entirety of 2025. Now, you might be saying to yourself, oh, wow, was he in a quarterback battle with Cam Ward? Absolutely not. Cam Ward was going to be the starter for the Titans by the time he became the minus money favorite to go first overall back in late February. Will Levis might not have even made the roster, but probably would have been a backup at best. Levis now undergoes surgery, will miss the entirety of this year. We'll see what his future holds in 2026 and beyond.
Yeah, I mean, the only argument or debate that you can make is why so late? If it is a nagging shoulder injury and you knew that you were dealing with this towards the end of the regular season, and I understand you potentially wanted to do it the natural way, but if you're serious about your career and you're serious about a potential roster spot, not just with Tennessee, but maybe with another football team, why not get it done sooner rather than later? That is the one concern, especially if you're going to be a backup or in a potential battle. What if Cam Ward does go down potentially with an injury? You would be next man up to help your football team. So why wait until right before camp to get this done, to miss the whole regular season? I mean, maybe he's getting ready for next year. But again, from a career perspective, if you were serious and dialed in about that shoulder and being healthy for the start of camp. I mean, here we are mid-July and you're having it done. It's a little late in my opinion.
I would agree, Joe, right? Again, was he going to factor into that starting role? No, it's Cam Ward. But to Joe's point, what happens if Cam Ward gets injured? Now the guys on the roster, I believe, are Brandon Allen and Tim Boyle, who are some veterans that somehow, some way have jobs in the National Football League. But to your point, Leasy Guy, not necessarily even the upside of Will Levis, although I don't believe there's much upside on Will Levis as it is. I don't want to say Joe and I were correct from the very jump, but we were, right? We knew that this guy, based on his production in college, would not translate to the NFL level. We'll see. You know, the 2026 campaign, Joe, will be his final year under his rookie deal for the Tennessee Titans. Could they look to ship him away? Hey, he's got a healthy shoulder now. Give us a 7th-round pick and some cash, and we'll send you Will Levis. Maybe. I don't really expect that to be the case. It is Cam Ward's team. If for whatever reason that is derailed because of injury, the Titans season is going to be derailed, and Will Levis probably was not the guy to save it. Again, are Brandon Allen and Tim Boyle? No. Will Levis, though, certainly not that option. The Titans win total is 5.5. The over has the juice. We'll see what Cam Ward has in Brian Callahan's system in his second year as the head man in Nashville. Let's talk some college football news, huh? We'll do that next.
There's smart and there's not smart. Not smart is hope as a strategy. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid. Keep it here and win. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network. The SportsGrid Radio Network presents This Date in Sports History.
1959, the Red Sox are the last team to sign a black player. Pumpsie Green played 4 seasons with Boston, but had little impact with the club. The Red Sox won 20 years between American League titles between 1946 and 1967. Many experts believe it was a lack of black players on their roster that led to 2 decades of mediocrity. For SportsGrid Radio, I'm Mike DeMurgis.
The Technology Minute with George Capalbo.
Are you looking to get into shape? If you need to find motivation, a new study from the UK suggests matching your personality type to your workout generates maximum results. The perfect activity for high-energy extroverts? Group sports. If you're more the nervous type, short bursts of activity with long breaks in between. Matching workouts to personality means more fun and success. Of course, if your natural state of fitness, snoozing on the couch, just take your old hound dog out for a walk. Follow me, I'm Q Capalbo on X, and stay tuned to The Technology Minute for more cool stuff like this.
The early line.
Maybe the team I look at and say I don't want to probably bet on is the Milwaukee Brewers, just from like a firepower standpoint, right? Like they have a solid bullpen and they have some good starters, but when you look at star power, the Dodgers have it, the Phillies have it, the Mets have it, the Cubs have it, the Padres have it, even the Giants have it. But overall, it's probably not a team that I'm looking forward to going deep in the playoffs.
It's the early line with Ben Stevens and Donnie Rightside. Weekdays, 8 a.m. Eastern, 5 Pacific on the SportsGrid Radio Network. There comes a point when the chips are down. To coin a phrase. When the only thing you can do is stop and wait. Do you want to face that moment prepared or rely on luck?
Get the winning edge.
This is the SportsGrid Radio Network. You're listening to Football Full Circle with Joe Lisi and Ben Stevens.
The month of July is a football month. 30 of our 32 NFL teams report to training camp by tomorrow. The final 2, the Falcons and the Steelers, on Wednesday. And Joe, this week, of course, will continue the Media Day circuit around CFB. ACC Media Days in Charlotte. Big Ten Media Days in Las Vegas. Yeah, in Las Vegas. Those both start tomorrow. We'll have more Group of 5 leagues make their way into the Media Day circuit as well. And some news for a strong Group of 5 league in a variety of ways on this Monday afternoon. Joe, within the last hour, big breaking news. Now former BYU quarterback Jake Retzloff has verbally committed to transfer to Tulane. As Pete Thamel of ESPN reports, the school has spent more than a week doing a vetting process, including the university's Title IX office examining the case that resulted in Retzloff withdrawing from BYU. If you do not know anything about this situation, just a reminder here, Joe, before we get to the football aspect of Retzloff now in New Orleans. Jake Retzloff led BYU to 11 wins last year, but was going to likely face a 7-game suspension for violations to BYU's honor code that stemmed from a sexual harassment case against Jake Retzloff, a civil suit against Retzloff for the accused and alleged rape of a woman dating back to 2023. In court filings, Joe, to prove his innocence of any sexual assault allegations, Retzloff admitted to premarital sex, which is the violation to BYU's specific honor code. Of course, it is a Mormon university. Thus, BYU as a school was set to hand down a 7-game honor code suspension to Jake Retzloff. This is his final year of eligibility in college football. It would sideline him for more than half of his final season in the collegiate ranks. However, soon after that news was reported a few weeks ago, Joe, later on in that week, the civil suit was dismissed with prejudice by both parties, meaning any legal affairs that Jake Retzloff was facing had now come to a close. The honor code suspension was still out there. Jake Retzloff withdraws from BYU as a school, did not officially enter the transfer portal because he gave up his scholarship at BYU, and Joe is set to attend Tulane this upcoming fall as a walk-on and, of course, compete for the quarterback job with the Green Wave. Jake Retzloff is headed to the Big Easy.
Well, you talk about a complete 360. You go to BYU where you can't party at all, and now you're going to the Bayou with John Summerall down in New Orleans, 365. You turnaround. But again, we talk about Tulane being that group of 5 team. They were on the cusp last year, and they went toe-to-toe with some of the better teams on their schedule. They could have knocked off Avery Johnson and Kansas State. They went toe-to-toe with them, and we've seen them throughout the years. I mean, he is a pure pocket passer, not as much of an RPO type of quarterback, but he can elevate that passing attack. He's walking on. He gives this team an absolute ability now to win the conference. We'll see exactly how it transpires in Tulane with Summerall, because he's a good coach. He can coach up the quarterback position, and Tulane is going to be right there, especially from the odds perspective. With Retzloff, they could be potentially a dark horse to make the college football playoff now.
Yeah, no doubt about it, Joe. I think this is an upgrade from a pure football perspective for the Green Wave. The last few years, Tulane has been pretty set at the quarterback spot. The final few seasons under Willie Fritz, it was Michael Pratt, who ended up playing in the NFL, at least sparingly, for the Green Bay Packers. Last year, it was the outstanding true freshman in Darian Mensah, who then hit the transfer portal and got a large payday from Manny Diaz and the Duke Blue Devils. So Tulane was kind of going to have a couple of options at the quarterback spot battling for that starting job. And Joe, after 9 wins under John Summerall, who has one of the highest active win percentages among FBS head coaches, first 2 years of his coaching career at Troy was great there. A 9-win season and an appearance in the American Athletic Conference Championship game before ultimately losing to Army. There's a lot to like about Tulane this year. A couple of guys were battling for that spot, Joe, but now it seems as though Jake Retzloff is going to be in the fold. Now, he's about to enter the campus in New Orleans with a very short period to learn the system, to learn the facility, to learn his teammates, to learn everything about this school and football program. We'll talk about what it means for Tulane on the other side of the break. But some big news in the American, which is now only going to be called the American. More on that next, too.
The winning edge. You've got it. But not everybody has it, because not everybody listens to us. But we're working on that. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
Progressive presents the SportsGrid Sports Flash. I'm Chuck Sanders. The Milwaukee Brewers continued their hot streak. They've won 10 in a row following Sunday's 6-5 victory at Dodger Stadium. Milwaukee's now tied with the Chicago Cubs atop the National League Central. At Wrigley, the Red Sox beat the Cubs 6-1. The Astros beat the Mariners 11-3. Houston's lead atop the AL West now 4 games over Seattle. The Phillies' lead atop the NL East is down to a half game over the Mets. New York beat Cincinnati 3-2, while the Angels pounded the Phillies 8-2 on Sunday. The Orioles beat Tampa 5-3. The Blue Jays 8-6 winners at home over the Giants. Toronto's won 3 straight. Their lead atop the AL East is 3 games better than the Yankees. New York beat Atlanta 4-2. Aaron Judge hit his 36th homer of the season. The Padres pounded the Nationals 8-1. The Royals beat the Marlins 7-4. Save big when you bundle auto and home, renters, or condo with Progressive. That's the SportsGrid Sports Flash. I'm Chuck Sanders.
Lowe's knows big savings make a big difference, especially when you're shopping for appliances. Hurry in to get up to 30% off select major appliances. Plus, My Lowe's Rewards members get free delivery, free haul away, free installation and parts on purchases of $2,500 or more. Lowe's, we help, you save. Valid through 7/30. Selection varies by location. While supplies last. Price, delivery time, and vehicle availability may vary based on order size and location. Exclusions apply. See Lowes.com/delivery for more details.
One of life's greatest mysteries has finally been solved.
Who let the dogs out? Spruce.
It's Spruce, the new hard-working, worry-free weed and grass killer that's safe for use around people and pets. When used as directed, spray the leaves for visible results in just 1 hour and dead weeds in just 1 day. You spray, they play. Weeds die by the next day. Find Spruce wherever weed killers are sold.
You're listening to SportsGrid, spreading the winning edge far and wide. Terrestrial, internet, TV, satellite, and don't forget our mobile app.
Face it,
the winning edge is everywhere. Somewhere there's a squirrel frustrated he can't get a phone. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network. You're listening to Football Full Circle with Joe Lisi and Ben Stevens.
So Jake Retzloff is planning to walk on at Tulane and, of course, compete for the starting quarterback job of the Green Wave entering 2025. Here's what the QB competition currently looks like in New Orleans ahead of year number 2 under John Sumrall. Caden Simonza, Joe, who had a very successful freshman year in the MAC at Ball State, competing alongside Brendan Sullivan, former Iowa and Northwestern quarterback, more of an athlete perhaps than a pure thrower, and Donovan Leary, another transfer from the Big Ten Conference out of Illinois. You also add in Jake Retzloff. Of those 3 quarterbacks, they all have various levels of experience, Brendan Sullivan and Caden Simonza, playing in games last year, but nobody has more experience than Jake Retzloff as that starting quarterback and the production to back it up. Retzloff leading BYU to 11 wins a season ago and getting it done, Joe, both through the air, more than 25 touchdown passes, or I believe 25 to be exact, and 6 rushing scores. No, 20 to be exact. 6 rushing scores as well. Retzloff, a gamer that had BYU in the top 25 basically all season long from October to the end of it. I would say, Joe, that with Retzloff going to the Bayou, going down to the Big Easy, he probably is in line to be QB1 for Tulane when their season begins on Saturday, August 30th against Northwestern at noon Eastern time. But because of the time frame, only having just over a month to get familiar with the entire landscape, I guess it does kind of call it into question.
Yeah, it does. And, I'm looking at their schedule now. Not easy. I mean, you mentioned the out-of-conference game against Northwestern. Then they face South Alabama. Gio Lopez has moved on to North Carolina, but it's still on the road. Duke, another bowl team with Manny Diaz, even though they get them at home. And then they have to go to the Grove in Oxford, which they can never beat. Ole Miss, just think about 2 years ago when they had them dead to rights with Jackson Dart, and somehow, some way, they wound up covering that game on the road. So, I mean, it's not easy. You're going to need a veteran quarterback to navigate through this schedule and then potentially challenge the, in-conference type of games. But again, it's winnable and manageable. Summerall is a really good coach. He's a motivator. We talked about it. He was mentioned for the North Carolina job and potentially leaping before they grab Belichick. I mean, again, they should be a bowl contender, but it's not going to be easy. If Retzloff does get that job, he potentially can lead them to 8 or 9 wins and maybe steal the conference. But again, they're going to need that veteran leadership to do that.
Yeah, no doubt about it, Joe. But when you look at Tulane, and this was even before Jake Retzloff is intending to walk on there. Also, that's fascinating. We'll talk about the entire circumstance in just a moment. The Green Wave were the favorites to win the AAC, which is no longer the AAC. It is just the American. An announcement today from that conference league office. Do not call it the American Athletic Conference anymore. Do not call it the AAC. Just the American. Or the American Conference, to be exact. But the American, Joe, Tulane was booked as the favorite. They played in the conference championship game last year against Army and did lose, of course, at Michie Stadium, but a 3-1 price on Tulane to win it this time around. I would say that's fair with all the talent that Tulane has back defensively and how aggressive John Sumrall was and his track record as a head coach as well in the transfer portal this offseason. I really like Tulane, Joe, in this spot, and I think Jake Retzloff is an improvement, of course, at the quarterback position. Tulane at a 3-1 price to win the American makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, you mentioned that, right? So again, if Retzloff gets the job, Mensa was more of a mobile dual threat type of quarterback. They were blue collar last year. So you talk about the 3-1 price, but let's take it a step further. What's their price potentially to steal it and maybe make the college football playoff? Because if you believe Retzloff is that much of an upgrade as it relates to the passing attack, then you take a shot. I mean, look at it right now. It's plus 760, almost 8-1 to make the college football playoff. If you believe they're going to win the conference, I would rather take a shot on the 760 than I would the 3-1. Again, there's no guarantees Retzloff wins the job and comes in and hits the ground running. But the 3-1 price, knowing what they have on the defensive side of the ball, let's push the envelope. You're almost getting 3 times or 2 times the value there. You're almost at 760, 8-1. That's great value to make the college football playoff.
And of course, Joe, what Willie Fritz did in his final 2 years in New Orleans, what he started to build back up even before a 2-10 season, uncharacteristically in 2021, John Sumrall has continued. What they have done now in terms of they had Michael Pratt and Tyjae Spears, then they turn it over to Darian Mensah and Mekhi Hughes, who, by the way, did transfer to Oregon. A great piece for Dan Lanning, of course, in the replacement of Jordan James. You've got a really solid squad, I would say, once again, this year. Joe, when we were looking earlier in the offseason, we were talking about win totals and CFP prices in each and every conference, what we did just a few weeks ago. 2 best prices out of the American, Memphis and Tulane, despite the fact that Ryan Silverfield and his team had the 4th best price to win the conference crown. They had the same best price of plus 860 to get to the college football playoff out of the American. Now, that is Tulane by itself at the plus 760 number and Memphis at plus 880. Again, we'll see. It's a fascinating scenario because Jake Retzloff has just over a month to get incorporated and up to speed on everything if he is even going to beat out the other guys like Caden Samansa or Brendan Sullivan or Donovan Leary for that starting job. And Joe, it's also just fascinating, by the way, some reporting here that Sumrall, when he was at Troy, tried to recruit Jake Retzloff and had him on campus for his visit from Retzloff's JUCO days. But it is also fascinating because he withdrew from the school because of BYU, not the football program, but the university's honor code supposed suspension that was on its way to being handed down. So he forgoes his scholarship. He did not enter the transfer portal because the transfer portal window is not open at this moment. He withdraws from school and will go to New Orleans as a walk-on. Again, not a scholarship player, doesn't need to be handed a scholarship, probably has made some decent money off NIL deals. All of that, Joe, to me, is a fascinating construct because if he were to enter the transfer portal, leaving BYU because he was unhappy with this proposed suspension, he wouldn't be able to join a new program right away. The transfer portal window is not open right? So the fact that he had to withdraw from school and enroll as a walk-on kind of gives you a loophole to the whole process in a way.
It does, and he had to do it because BYU is not going to change their rules, because if they made the exception for Retzloff, they would have to go back. They could open themselves up to litigation and legal cases for every decision they have made throughout the previous years, right? Why Retzloff and nobody else? So that's why he withdraws. He finds a loophole. He walks on. If he makes the team, there you go. Everything's signed, sealed, and delivered. But, it was the right decision for Retzloff because he was being held hostage by BYU and their policy. Not like, to your point, not the football program, but the university as a whole. And again, that wasn't going to change, because if they made that decision, then you might as well just get rid of the policy. There's no reason to have a policy if you're going to bend the knee. So this is what transpires. And again, he knew what he was getting himself into. Once that situation arose, he made the decision to, obviously sustain his football career and at least play in 2025, because if he stayed there, could have been detrimental to both parties.
Yeah, no doubt about it, Joe. By the way, 8.5 the win total for Tulane and Memphis. A little bit of juice on the under for both the Tigers and the Green Wave. The highest win total in the American, that's Navy, 8.5. The over has the juice at -144. Tulane does not play Navy in the regular season, but does have road trips against UTSA and Memphis, critical at the end of October, early November. More FFC next.
We're not saying every SportsGrid listener is a legend, but you might start thinking about who's going to play you in the movie. Just saying. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
With your news flash, I'm Trey Westerberg. This update brought to you by Linzess. Just 3 people remain missing, down from nearly 100 at last count since the Texas Hill Country was pounded by massive flooding on July 4th. Officials praise rescuers for the sharp reduction in the number of people on the missing list. Just days after the catastrophic flooding, more than 160 people were said to be unaccounted for in Kerr County alone. The death toll in Kerr County, 107, held steady for much of last week, even as the intensive search continued. The IT company CEO, captured in a widely circulated video showing him embracing an employee at a Coldplay concert, has resigned. Andy Byron resigned from his job as CEO of Cincinnati-based Astronomer Incorporated. The move came a day after the company said that Byron had been placed on leave and the board of directors had launched a formal investigation into the Jumbotron incident, which went viral. I'm Trey Westerberg with your news flash.
Lowe's knows big savings make a big difference, especially when you're shopping for appliances. Hurry in to get up to 30% off select major appliances. Plus, My Lowe's Rewards members get free delivery, free haul away, free installation and parts on purchases of $2,500 or more. Lowe's, we help, you save. Valid through 7/30. Selection varies by location. While supplies last. Price, delivery time, and vehicle availability may vary based on order size and location. Exclusions apply. See Lowes.com/delivery for more details.
Drivers who switch and save with Progressive could save hundreds. With that kind of money, you could go big time on a fancy water bottle with ultra titanium alloy metal. You're not sure why you need all that. I mean, it just holds water, but you're getting it anyway. Because if you're hiking near an active volcano and you accidentally drop the bottle into molten lava, your water will still be icy cold. Switch to Progressive and you could save big time. For water bottles, Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, not available in all states. Potential savings will vary.
Remember when you were thankful you could just get AM and FM? Things have progressed. Now even an app on your phone can give you a 21st century thrill with that little drop of heaven called the deposit notification. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network. You're listening to Football Full Circle with Joe Lisi and Ben Stevens.
Live right here on Football Full Circle, it is FFC. He is Joe Lisi. I am Ben Stevens. The big news of the day, Jake Retzloff is going to play quarterback at Tulane. Will he win the starting job right away? We shall see. Joe, as we were saying, in terms of those win totals, Tulane has the second highest in the American at 8.5. A little bit of juice on the under. They open up the year against Northwestern in New Orleans. Could it be the Brendan Sullivan revenge game? against his former school? Or is Retzloff going to start? Or could it be another guy like Caden Samanza who comes over from Ball State? Any way you slice it, the Green Wave, Joe, more than a touchdown favorite, 7.5 points to be exact, against a Big Ten team in the Wildcats. Again, there is optimism this year under New Orleans. 9-win team last year under John Sumrall in the regular season. An appearance in the American Championship game against Army. This team is booked as the favorite to win the American this upcoming season.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about, especially the game in the championship against Army. I mean, the fact that it was a home game for Army, they were just checked out. I mean, watch that game. They got abused internally in terms of the trenches, and Army ran away with it in that dominating home win to win their first American championship. But Tulane's going to be there.
Yeah.
You just look at the defensive side of the ball last year, right? They allowed 145 rushing yards per game, only 4.4 yards per carry. But when they stepped up against bigger, more physical offense and defensive lines, they played very well. They're a disciplined type of defense, opportunistic as it relates to turnover margin. And again, as long as you do that with an above-average quarterback or a veteran quarterback like Retzloff, you're going to be there. Now, the win total the 8.5 is important because we talk about the 2 out-of-conference games. South Alabama on the road, okay, they should win that. But Ole Miss and Northwestern are not going to be easy, right? They lose both of those games there. You're starting right out 10-2 at best. Again, 8.5, they should be a 9-win football team, but 8-4 might get it done. I would lean to the over, but I don't love it, Ben.
It's interesting as well, Joe, and not just those 2 out-of-conference games. How about the Darian Mensah revenge game back in New Orleans, week number 3 against Duke? We've got 3 power conference opponents out of the 4 non-con games that Tulane is going to play. You win a couple of those, you have those games be close, you're making some statements that the Green Wave should not be trifled with. And then again, Joe, you start stacking up resumes, right? Because when you think about more than likely the one representative from the Group of 5 conference that will be the 5th highest ranked conference champ, or one of the 5 highest ranked conference champs. Technically, Boise State was the 3rd of 5 highest ranked conference champs last year. You're in comparison now to the others, right? Tulane is going to more than likely not battle for an at-large spot, but you're battling for the American, and then once you win the conference championship, in comparison against teams like Boise State that are the minus money favorites to win the Mountain West. Once again, those non-conference games, either wins or, as we have often used, quality of loss, are going to be important by the time we reach early December and Selection Sunday. Very important to know. Elsewhere, Joe, Northwestern, a Big Ten team. Oh, you want to say one final thing? Go ahead.
I just wanted to say, if we're talking, Tulane and Memphis, who has the harder out of conference? Because Memphis has Arkansas at the Liberty Bowl. That is their hardest test out of conference. Yeah, but I'm just saying, so if you're looking at the plus 880 for Memphis and you're looking at the plus 760 to make the college football playoff for Tulane, it's not even close. You got how many out of conference bowl teams? You have Ole Miss, you have Northwestern, you have Duke, and those teams are strong entering 2025. Arkansas has a win total, even though I think they could exceed that with Taylon Green, of 5.5. So it's not even close when we talk about Memphis and Tulane as it relates to the college football playoff, as it relates to the conference. It's not even close between both of those.
And again, more than likely, these 2 teams are not going to be comparing resumes in terms of earning an at-large spot. We know that more than likely it will be that highest-ranked Group of 5 champion. So it's not only winning your conference championship against your foes, but also having a better resume when all is said and done than that of a Boise State to be likely, right? Sun Belt champs could be a variety of teams, Texas State, JMU, so on and so forth. Maybe a Liberty or a Western Kentucky out of CUSA. The reason I highlight that, Joe, is because when you look at the team that has the best price from a Group of 5 conference to reach the college football playoff, it would be the Broncos of Boise State, right? Boise State plays at Notre Dame. that first weekend of October. They have App State on the slate as well. Much like last year, Boise State was perfect outside of a 3-point loss against Oregon. That did not harm them in any way in terms of their ranking and consideration for the college football playoff. Would you take a 10-2 Boise State Mountain West champ that dropped the game during their conference regular season and that loss at Notre Dame? Would you take a 10-2 Tulane team that was perfect in the American but lost to Duke and Ole Miss? Like, those are the conversations that you then start to have by the time you get to Sunday following conference championship weekend in comparing what will now just be rankings, right? You got the 5 highest ranked conference champs earning the automatic bid, but it's not like, oh, now we're taking this team into consideration for an opening round bye. It's just who is ranked higher to earn one of those spots into the college football playoff.
And for Boise State, they lose 37-34 to the number 1 team in the nation that was undefeated.
Right.
That's how good it looked on their resume. The loss was phenomenal. So if they lose to Notre Dame and Notre Dame's undefeated, well, there you go. It all comes down to, quality of defeat as well. We talk about margin of victory. It's also quality of defeat of these top 25 or top 10 opponents. That'll matter as well as it breaks down to Tulane and even Memphis with the game against Arkansas.
And you wonder what the committee values, right? What if Memphis goes perfect and is 12-0, right? Is a 12-0 Memphis team the champion of the American better than a 11-1 Boise State team that's only losses on the road in South Bend? Those will be conversations we have at a later date. Let's talk the Big Ten media preseason poll next.
Luck is winning the lottery. Strategy is settling your divorce before cashing in the ticket. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid. Get the winning edge. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network. SportsGrid TV and radio networks are the premier streaming video and audio channels dedicated to serving the sports wagering audience. Found on major smart TV platforms and streaming on SportsGrid Radio and Sirius XM Channel 159. SportsGrid's real-time data, expert commentary, and entertaining analysis transform viewers into informed sports enthusiasts. Our weekday radio lineup begins with the early line at 8 a.m. Eastern with Ben Stevens and Donnie Rightside. Donnie joins Kevin Walsh on Moneyline at 11 a.m. Eastern, followed by Football Full Circle at noon Eastern. Kaplan and crew join the party at 1 p.m. Eastern, and Pharrell Coast to Coast keeps things rolling from 3 to 6 p.m. Eastern. Get in the mix with Kevin Walsh and Game Time Decisions at 6 p.m. Eastern. Evenings simmer with Carver and Lisi, then boils over with Gabe Moritzi on Sports Rage Late Night at 10 p.m. Eastern. To find out where to find SportsGrid that's best for you, go to sportsgrid.com. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Imagine combining the exciting investment opportunity of cryptocurrencies with the power of artificial intelligence to maximize your IRA, 401k, or other investment funds. Listen, if you're looking for ways to accelerate your retirement growth, Block Trust IRA has market-leading strategies and solutions for all levels of investors, from $1,000 to millions. And they partner with Bitcoin Magazine's #1 crypto trading fund in the world to maximize your returns. Plus, their team of IRA specialists is here to help you roll over your IRA or qualified retirement account to the new world of cryptocurrency investments. So make this free call right now to set up your account and learn more.
800-434-5313. 800-434-5313. 800-434-5313. That's 800-434-5313.
It's stark but true. You can either listen to SportsGrid for strategies, odds, and more, or you can pay your bills by digging in your couch cushions for change. Just be sure to wear gloves. Get the winning edge. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network. You're listening to Football Full Circle with Joe Lisi and Ben Stevens.
Big Ten Media Days start tomorrow in Las Vegas. Yeah, Las Vegas, Nevada for Big Ten Media Days. Be still my heart. It should always be in Indianapolis and or Chicago. That's a later question for a later day. Big Ten preseason media poll. each and every year, Joe, released by Cleveland.com. The Big Ten as a league does not specifically release a preseason poll, but the Cleveland.com is seen as the official one. And let's start at 1, because Penn State earned the most first-place votes to come in first in the Big Ten preseason poll. 11 first-place votes for the Nittany Lions, checking in at number 1, even in front of our reigning national champs in Ohio State, who earned 10 first-place votes, but they check in at number 2. Oregon 3, Illinois 4, Michigan also earning a first-place nod, checks in at 5 to round out the top 5. But the story, of course, Joe, Penn State in front of Ohio State. More first-place votes for the Nittany Lions than that of the Buckeyes.
Yeah, and it makes sense because we talk about returning starters for Ohio State. Outside of Jeremiah Smith on the offensive side of the ball, they have all first-year starters, so that's a cause of concern. Jim Knowles moves on, right? That's another cause of concern when you talk about one of the elite defensive coordinators who, oh, by the way, happens to be roaming the sidelines in Beaver Stadium now. You couple that with Drew Aller, love him or hate him, he's still, from an experience standpoint, him and Luke Altmaier are the two most experienced quarterbacks in all of the Big Ten. Now you couple that with Singleton and Katron Allen, the two best running backs potentially in the Big Ten. They're deserving on paper to be the number 1 team or first place votes to win the Big Ten conference this year with James Franklin. Now, actually executing that and stepping up and actually winning games that they should win, right? We know that they could do that, but winning against top 5 opponents in a big, quality, tough environment is something James Franklin hasn't done since his days in Nashville, where he was back-to-back 9-4 seasons and won 2 bowl games for the Commodores. So these are the questions that Penn State has to answer. Can Drew Aller, in a big game, step up against a quality top 5 defense? I don't know. We'll see. But again, they're deserving of the hype in the offseason because it's put up or shut up time for James Franklin and Penn State.
That is the idea, right, Joe? Not that Penn State is in front of Ohio State. We can understand it. Ohio State, despite being the reigning national champs, lost 14 guys to the NFL draft. You win a national championship, you make a deep college football playoff run, and you are a veteran-laden group, you're going to lose a lot of talented people to the National Football League. They still return a couple of key guys, maybe the 2 best players in the Big Ten, and Jeremiah Smith, who's probably the best wide receiver in the country, and Caleb Downs, who is a star safety and an All-American back there for the Buckeyes. But outside of that, a lot of new faces. And most notably, Joe, it's the guy throwing the ball to Jeremiah Smith in Julian Sayin. You've got two first-time play callers, coordinators, at least in this spot. Brian Hartline will officially take over the duties as the OC and the offensive play caller for Ryan Day. We have no idea what Matt Patricia looks like collegiately, Joe. A bright defensive mind? Maybe. At least he was under Bill Belichick. We'll see if he is here in Columbus. But it's the idea, Joe. We've thrust expectation on James Franklin and company numerous times. Have they delivered? Well, they've won a Big Ten title under James Franklin. Heck, they made it to the college football playoff semifinal a year ago. And had Drew Aller not looked bad in that second half and in critical moments against the Irish, it might have been an all Big Ten national championship game. And all of that returning talent that you expect to just improve year over year is back. Drew Aller, Nick Singleton, Katron Allen on the defensive side, Zane Durant, Denai Dennis Sutton, just to name a few up front. They have so much talent, Joe, and they had one of the best DCs in the country in Jim Knowles. But does that result in a Big Ten title? That we shall see.
Yeah, again, we know they could be 10-2, but they've never beaten really in a tough spot Michigan or Ohio State when it's counted. Look at last year. They have Ohio State and Will Howard dead to rights with a 10-0 lead in the first half. And in the second half, They can't do anything. They throw for 120 yards and they lose the game outright. I mean, that cannot happen this year for Penn State and James Franklin. Cannot.
94-17, Joe. That's a win percentage of 85% when Penn State is booked as a favorite. 7-25 as an underdog. And they won't be an underdog early, but maybe against the best of the best later in the year. He's Joe. I'm Ben. Show returns tomorrow, noon Eastern time on SportsGrid Radio.
Now you've done it. You found the advantage for gaming, odds, and more. But we call it the winning edge for short. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.